The galaxy of Warhammer 40,000 is a vast, unrelenting tapestry of chaos, war, and survival. Among the countless factions vying for dominance or survival, the Necrons stand as one of the most enigmatic and ancient forces in existence. They are not new players in this grimdark narrative, nor are they simple conquerors or zealots driven by faith or hatred. Instead, they are remnants of a civilization that predates the rise of humanity, the birth of the Eldar, and even the warp itself as a realm of chaos. Their story is older than the stars that now light the galaxy, and their ambitions stretch beyond the comprehension of most mortal minds. Millennia ago, the Necrons were not the cold, metallic warriors they are today, but a mortal race cursed by the fragility of their biology. Yet even then, their ambitions were vast, and their hatred for the organic, ever-changing universe around them burned bright. Through their alliance and ultimate betrayal of the ancient star gods known as the Catan, they transcended their mortal shells, becoming eternal. This transformation, however, came at a terrible price: the loss of their souls and the destruction of their ability to feel, dream, or create. For eons, the Necrons lay dormant, entombed within stasis crypts on countless worlds across the galaxy. Their slumber was not a surrender, but a calculated pause, awaiting a time when the stars would align and their ancient plans could resume. Now, in the 41st millennium, their tombs stir once more, and the Necrons awaken to find the galaxy in turmoil. It is a galaxy rife with conflict, its dominant species struggling for survival amid the ceaseless wars of the Imperium, the ruinous power of chaos, and the encroaching tendrils of the Tyranid hive fleets. Yet the Necrons are not simply rejoining this chaos to claim resources or territory. Their endgame is far more profound and chilling. They do not see themselves as conquerors, but as the rightful rulers of a galaxy that has forgotten its masters. Their ambitions transcend the petty squabbles of mortal species, aiming instead at the very fabric of reality itself. To understand what the Necrons seek to achieve, one must first grasp the scope of their history, the forces that shape them, and the philosophies that guide them. The awakening of the Necrons signals more than the return of a powerful race. It heralds the resurgence of an ancient order that seeks to reshape the galaxy according to its will. In their cold, calculating logic, they see a universe of imperfection and chaos, one that must be brought into order at any cost. This is not a campaign of conquest for resources or survival. It is a pursuit of dominion over the fundamental forces of the cosmos. But what is the true extent of their ambition? What ultimate goal drives these timeless beings? The answers to these questions lie buried within their cryptic lore, hinted at by their interactions with other species, their technological pursuits, and the grand strategies they enact across countless star systems. In this exploration, we will unravel the intricate web of Necron motivations, from their greatest leaders to their most enigmatic objectives. By examining the forces and events that have shaped their long history, we aim to uncover the true nature of their endgame and what it could mean for the galaxy of the 41st millennium. The Necrons are waking. The galaxy stands at the precipice of their grand design. What comes next may redefine the future of the stars themselves. Within the enigmatic hierarchy of the Necrons, their endgame is shaped and guided by an intricate network of key players. These are individuals and factions whose roles define the direction of their ancient plans, each contributing a piece to the greater puzzle. Together, they embody the unified will of a race striving for a singular purpose, yet fractured by divergent ambitions and rivalries that stem from their ancient origins. At the heart of this grand design stand the Pharaons, the ruling class of the Necron dynasties. These individuals were once mortal rulers of vast empires on their homeworlds, and their transformation into immortal beings has only solidified their positions. They are sovereign leaders of their respective dynasties, each overseeing vast armies and enormous resources. Pharaons are visionaries and strategists, whose ambitions often mirror the larger goals of the Necrons as a whole. Their authority is absolute within their domains, and their ability to command legions of their kind makes them indispensable to the Necrons' overarching purpose. Beneath the Pharaons are the Overlords, powerful generals and administrators who serve as the executors of their master's will. They are the ones who translate the broad visions of the Pharaons into tangible action, leading legions of Necron warriors into battle and orchestrating operations across star systems. Overlords wield significant autonomy, often acting as de facto rulers of their own territories, but their loyalty to their Pharaons remains unwavering, at least in theory. It is through their efforts that the Necron Endgame is carried out on the front lines, making them key figures in shaping its progression. Among the most pivotal of Necron players are the Cryptechs, ancient scientists and engineers whose mastery of technology and the material universe borders on the incomprehensible. They are the architects of the Necrons' most advanced creations and are integral to realizing their ultimate objectives. The Cryptechs' work includes developing and maintaining the Necrons' immense technological arsenal, crafting weapons of unparalleled power, and even manipulating the fundamental forces of reality. Each Cryptech specializes in a specific discipline, and their collective knowledge is vital to unlocking the secrets required for the Necrons to achieve their ultimate purpose. Another key faction within the Necron hierarchy is the Triarch, an ancient ruling council that once presided over the entirety of Necron civilization before their transformation. Though the Triarch itself no longer exists in its original form, its remnants are preserved in the form of the Triarch Praetorians. These elite warriors serve as the guardians of the old ways, ensuring that the Necron dynasties remain united under the original vision of their long-dead rulers. They act as enforcers of order, traveling across the galaxy to maintain the stability and cohesion necessary for the Necrons' ambitions to proceed unimpeded. The Silent King, Zarek, stands apart as a singular figure of immense importance. Once the supreme ruler of the Necron race, Zarek abdicated his throne in an act of ultimate sacrifice, seeking redemption for his role in condemning his people to their soulless existence. Now, he serves as a shadowy architect of the Necrons' plans, guiding them from the fringes of galactic affairs. His return to the galaxy has reignited the hope, or fear, that the Necrons can once again unite under a single banner to achieve their ultimate goal. Another prominent figure is Imhotep the Stormlord, the overlord of the Sautek dynasty. Known for his unmatched tactical brilliance and military prowess, Imhotep is a force to be reckoned with among the Necron leaders. His focus on expanding the influence of his dynasty aligns with the broader Necron objectives, though his personal ambitions and methods often set him apart from others. As a master of strategy, Imhotep embodies the Necrons' cold, calculated approach to galactic domination. The Nemesor Zondrek and Vargard Obyron represent a unique dynamic within the Necron leadership. Zondrek, a brilliant commander, operates under the delusion that he is still leading mortal soldiers in an era long past, while his loyal subordinate, Obyron, manages the practicalities of his campaigns. Despite their quirks, the pair's effectiveness in combat and strategic planning cannot be understated, making them significant contributors to the Necron cause. Finally, the Canoptech constructs form a silent yet critical aspect of the Necron efforts. These automated creations serve as both guardians and laborers, maintaining the vast tomb complexes and technological infrastructure that underpin the Necron civilization. From the diminutive scarabs that repair and scout to the towering Canoptech spiders that oversee operations, these machines are indispensable to the Necron's grand plans. While they lack the individuality of their masters, their relentless efficiency ensures that the Necron's goals remain achievable. Together, these key players and factions represent the multifaceted nature of the Necron race. Their roles are distinct yet interconnected, each serving a purpose within the larger framework of their ancient ambitions. As their endgame unfolds, the actions and decisions of these individuals and groups will determine not only the fate of their race, but also the future of the galaxy itself. The journey toward the Necrons' endgame began long before the galaxy, as it is now, was even recognizable. Their origins trace back to an era when the Necrontyre, their mortal ancestors, were a race of short-lived beings cursed by the relentless radiation of their dying star. This harsh existence bred a culture of bitterness and despair, driving the Necrontyre to seek meaning and power beyond the limits of their fragile mortality. Their yearning for survival and dominance over their harsh environment laid the foundation for what would eventually become their grand ambition. The Necrontyre's suffering was compounded by their fractured society. Divided into dynasties, they fought endless wars of expansion and internal conflict. Though they achieved incredible technological advancements, their lives remained painfully brief, and their conquests brought no solace. It was during this era of strife and desperation that they first encountered the Old Ones, a godlike race of ancient beings who had mastered the secrets of the Immaterium and shaped the galaxy's younger species. The Old Ones' immortality and power became a source of envy and hatred for the Necrontyre, who saw in them a cruel reminder of their own mortality. The conflict with the Old Ones would prove pivotal. What began as a war born of resentment escalated into a catastrophic confrontation that spanned eons. The Necrontyre's technological prowess, formidable as it was, could not overcome the advanced psionic abilities of their foes. Beaten and demoralized, the Necrontyre faced the possibility of extinction. It was in this moment of desperation that they encountered the Shaitan, ancient star-born entities of immense power. The Khatan, hungry for sustenance and worship, offered the Necrontyre a path to survival and victory. In exchange for their loyalty, the Khatan shared their power and promised the Necrontyre immortality. This pact, known as the biotransference, would reshape the Necrontyre into the Necrons, replacing their fragile flesh with bodies of living metal. The Necrons were now eternal, but their transformation came at a terrible price. Their souls were consumed in the process, leaving them cold and unfeeling. The war with the Old Ones continued, but the Necrons now possessed the power to challenge their ancient foes on equal footing. The Khatan, with the Necrons as their vassals, waged a brutal campaign that ultimately led to the near destruction of the Old Ones. Yet the alliance with the Khatan was not without consequence. The Khatan had used the Necrons to serve their own hunger and ambitions, and in time, the Necrons turned on their former masters. Through an elaborate series of betrayals, they shattered the Khatan into shards, capturing and enslaving their power for their own use. With the Old Ones defeated and the Khatan broken, the Necrons emerged as one of the dominant powers in the galaxy. However, their victory was hollow. The galaxy had been ravaged by the war, and the younger races that had been seeded by the Old Ones began to rise. Among these were the Eldar, who harnessed the power of the warp to build a vast and thriving empire. The Necrons, drained by their endless conflicts, realized that they could not hold their dominance against the burgeoning might of these new civilizations. Thus began their Great Sleep. Rather than risk annihilation, the Necrons retreated into their tomb worlds, entering stasis to await a future when the galaxy would weaken and they could rise again unchallenged. This period of dormancy stretched across millions of years, during which the galaxy changed in ways even the Necrons could not have predicted. The rise and fall of countless empires, the birth of chaos as a major force, and the eventual dominance of humanity all occurred while the Necrons slumbered, their tombs hidden beneath the surfaces of countless worlds. The modern awakening of the Necrons was not a coordinated event, but rather a series of disruptions caused by galactic events. The decay of their stasis systems, the encroachment of other species on their tomb worlds, and the natural cycles of the galaxy all contributed to their re-emergence. Now, as the 41st millennium unfolds, the Necrons find themselves in a galaxy very different from the one they once knew, yet filled with opportunities to reclaim what they believe to be their rightful place. The factors leading to their endgame are rooted not only in their ancient past, but also in the current state of the galaxy. The instability of the Imperium, the growing threat of chaos, and the rise of other Xeno species have created a fractured and weakened galactic stage. This chaos aligns perfectly with the Necrons' original strategy of waiting for a time when their dominance could be reasserted without significant opposition. Yet, their awakening also brings challenges. Fractured leadership among the dynasties, forgotten knowledge, and the loss of some of their greatest technologies make their grand ambitions more complex to achieve. The Necrons' motivations are both a response to their ancient grievances and a calculated reaction to the current galactic situation. As they stir from their tombs, their plans are not impulsive, but the result of millions of years of planning, calculation, and waiting. Their endgame is not simply an act of revenge or conquest. It is the culmination of a long and deliberate journey to reshape the galaxy in their image, to undo the chaos that has engulfed it, and to establish an eternal order that only they, in their cold, soulless logic, believe can endure. The progression toward the Necrons' endgame is defined by a series of deliberate and calculated stages, each designed to achieve their ultimate goal of galactic dominance and the restoration of their ancient order. These stages unfold across millennia, shaped by their unique technological capabilities, unyielding will, and the fractured state of the galaxy they seek to reshape. The first major stage is the reawakening of the Necron dynasties. After millions of years of dormancy, their tomb worlds stir back to life, though not all awaken simultaneously or in coordination. This staggered awakening is both an advantage and a challenge. While some dynasties are quick to reclaim their ancient power, others emerge into chaos, with degraded systems, fragmented leadership, or interference from other species. The Necrons' first priority in this stage is consolidation, securing their tomb worlds, rebuilding their forces, and re-establishing contact with neighboring dynasties. This phase is marked by internal power struggles and attempts to restore the unity that once defined their empire. The second stage involves the expansion and reclamation of their ancient territories. The Necrons recognize that the galaxy has changed drastically during their slumber, with many of their former strongholds now occupied by other species. Reclamation campaigns are launched to secure critical planets, rich in resources or strategic value, while eradicating the presence of lesser beings who have encroached upon what the Necrons see as their rightful domains. This phase is characterized by calculated precision. Each campaign is meticulously planned to minimize losses and maximize impact, utilizing their unmatched technology and strategic acumen. As their territories expand, the Necrons enter the third stage, the systematic dismantling of rival powers. This phase is not driven by brute force, but by a strategy of targeted strikes and psychological warfare. The Necrons deploy their superior weaponry and the terrifying efficiency of their armies to cripple key enemies, often exploiting the weaknesses of organic beings. Their tactics include sowing discord among rival factions, destabilizing governments, and severing vital supply chains. The Necrons aim not merely to defeat their enemies in battle, but to weaken them to the point of irrelevance, ensuring no power can challenge their ascendancy. With their rivals neutralized, the Necrons proceed to the fourth stage, the reconstruction of their ancient empire. This involves not only the physical rebuilding of infrastructure, but also the restoration of their lost knowledge and technological capabilities. Cryptechs and other specialized agents work tirelessly to uncover and reactivate ancient constructs, from forgotten weaponry to planetary-scale machines capable of reshaping reality. This stage also sees the rekindling of the Silent King's vision, as he seeks to unite the fractured dynasties under a singular purpose and restore the Necrons to their former glory. The fifth stage represents a pivotal escalation, the manipulation of the fundamental forces of the galaxy. The Necrons have always harbored a deep disdain for the warp and its chaotic influence. To achieve their ultimate goal, they turn their focus to isolating the galaxy from the immaterium entirely. This involves the activation of technologies capable of severing the ties between real space and the warp, rendering psychic powers and the influence of chaos impotent. The celestial orrery and other ancient constructs play a critical role in this stage, enabling the Necrons to reshape the fabric of reality itself in their favor. As their plans near completion, the sixth stage unfolds, the imposition of eternal order. The Necrons envision a galaxy devoid of chaos, unpredictability, and decay, a universe governed by their cold, logical design. This stage involves the eradication of remaining resistance and the enforcement of their rule across all inhabited worlds. Lesser species are subjugated or annihilated, their civilizations reduced to ash in the face of Necron supremacy. The Necrons' vision of order is absolute, with no room for dissent or variation. The final stage of their endgame is the ultimate realization of their dominion. With the galaxy under their control and the warp sealed away, the Necrons aim to create a timeless empire, free from the corruption and instability that have plagued existence since the dawn of time. This vision is not one of prosperity or harmony, but of unchanging perfection, enforced through their immortal will. The galaxy becomes a vast monument to the Necrons' triumph, a place where every element is engineered to serve their purpose. While these stages represent a coherent progression, the path to their completion is not without obstacles. The Necrons must contend with internal divisions, unforeseen challenges, and the unpredictable actions of other galactic powers. Yet their resilience and unparalleled patience allow them to adapt and recalibrate their strategies as needed. Each stage builds upon the last, methodically advancing their plans with the inevitability of time itself. As the galaxy trembles under the weight of their resurgence, the Necrons move ever closer to their ultimate goal. Their endgame is not a fleeting moment of victory, but a transformation of the galaxy into a reflection of their ancient ideals. The stages of this transformation are carefully orchestrated, each step bringing them closer to the realization of a vision that has endured for millions of years. The question is not whether the Necrons will attempt to achieve their endgame, but whether anyone can stop them before it is too late. The key turning point in the Necrons' pursuit of their endgame lies in the potential activation of their most powerful and enigmatic technological marvels, paired with the inherent risks such devices pose to their plans. Among these, the celestial orrery and similar constructs embody both the pinnacle of their ancient science and the seeds of their potential downfall. The critical decision to fully deploy these technologies represents the moment where the Necrons' ambitions could either reshape the galaxy in their image or collapse under the weight of their own arrogance. The celestial orrery is a device of immense and terrifying power, a physical representation of the galaxy maintained with unparalleled precision. It grants the Necrons the ability to predict, manipulate, and even destroy celestial phenomena on an incomprehensible scale. Its use would allow them to enact their vision of order, eliminating threats by erasing entire star systems or altering galactic events to their advantage. However, the activation of such a device requires absolute precision. Any miscalculation could lead to catastrophic consequences, including the destabilization of the very galaxy they seek to dominate. The critical decision facing the Necrons is whether to unleash the full potential of the orrery or to pursue their endgame through more gradual, less risky means. This moment is fraught with tension, as internal debates among their leaders reveal the fractures within their otherwise methodical hierarchy. Some factions advocate for immediate activation, arguing that the galaxy's current instability provides the perfect opportunity to impose their vision of order. Others, more cautious, warn that tampering with such power could unleash chaos far greater than any they aim to suppress. As this debate unfolds, external threats further complicate the decision. Rivals like the Imperium, the Eldar, and the Tyranids probe the edges of Necron territory, disrupting their operations and threatening the stability of their dynasties. These pressures force the Necrons to consider whether activating the orrery prematurely is worth the risk to neutralize these growing dangers, or if waiting for a more opportune moment would ensure their plan's success. The turning point comes when one dynasty, seeking to prove its superiority and secure its dominance over the others, takes unilateral action. Against the advice of more cautious voices, they activate the orrery to destroy a particularly persistent enemy faction. Initially, the plan appears to succeed, with entire systems obliterated in precise, calculated strikes. However, the unintended consequences soon manifest. The orrery's power begins to ripple beyond the Necrons' control, altering the delicate balance of the galaxy's gravitational forces and causing anomalies that even their advanced technology struggles to predict or contain. The fallout from this event creates a chain reaction. The unstable orrery attracts the attention of rival powers who unite in desperation to investigate and neutralize the growing threat. Even factions previously content to ignore the Necrons are drawn into the fray, sensing an opportunity to exploit the chaos. The Necrons, once cold and calculating, are forced into a defensive position as their carefully laid plans begin to unravel. This marks a profound shift in their campaign as they transition from the architects of galactic order to a beleaguered force fighting to maintain their position. The activation of the orrery also exposes vulnerabilities within the Necrons themselves. Dynasties that once cooperated out of necessity begin to turn on each other, blaming rivals for the escalating crisis. The Silent King's efforts to unify his people falter as mistrust spreads and long-buried rivalries resurface. What was intended as a demonstration of Necron supremacy becomes a catalyst for fragmentation, weakening their collective strength and opening the door for their enemies to strike. This moment of internal and external crisis represents the key event that could lead to the Necrons' downfall. Their decision to wield such immense power reveals not only their technological mastery, but also their hubris. The turning point underscores the delicate balance between ambition and restraint, highlighting how the Necrons' greatest strength, their reliance on cold logic and unparalleled technology, can also become their greatest weakness. Whether this event marks the beginning of their ultimate defeat or serves as a lesson that allows them to recalibrate their plans remains uncertain, but it undeniably reshapes the course of their endgame. In the end, the key turning point for the Necrons is not simply the activation of a device or the destruction of an enemy, but the realization that their ambitions carry inherent risks they may not fully understand. The consequences of this moment ripple across the galaxy, altering the trajectory of not only the Necrons, but every faction caught in the shadow of their ancient and terrible power. The disappearance or destruction of the Necrons from the galactic stage would have profound and far-reaching consequences, reshaping the balance of power and leaving an indelible mark on the galaxy. Despite their ancient origins and isolationist tendencies, the Necrons' influence is felt across countless worlds, and their absence would create both opportunities and dangers for the other factions vying for survival and dominance. The most immediate effect would be the destabilization of regions formerly under Necron control or influence. The tomb worlds and systems that had been fiercely guarded by their forces would become vulnerable, inviting opportunistic invasions by other factions. The Imperium, in particular, would likely launch campaigns to secure these worlds, as the Necron tombs are often located on planets rich in strategic resources. However, these reclamation efforts would not be without peril. Even in their absence, the remnants of Necron technology, including automated defenses and malfunctioning constructs, would pose significant threats to invading forces. For the Eldar, the disappearance of the Necrons might provide a bittersweet reprieve. As one of the oldest enemies of the Eldar, the Necrons have long been a reminder of ancient conflicts and betrayals. Their absence would reduce the number of existential threats faced by the Eldar, but it would also leave the galaxy more exposed to other dangers, particularly the encroachment of chaos and the Tyranid hive fleets. The Eldar, ever aware of the delicate balance of the galaxy, might find themselves struggling to fill the void left by the Necrons in maintaining a semblance of order against these growing threats. The forces of chaos, both mortal and demonic, would undoubtedly exploit the vacuum left by the Necrons. The warp, long hated and resisted by the Necrons, would face fewer barriers to spreading its corruption across the galaxy. Without the Necrons' interference, key galactic ley lines and nodes of psychic power could fall under the influence of chaos, leading to an expansion of the Immaterium's reach into real space. This would increase the prevalence of demonic incursions and psychic instability, creating new challenges for the remaining factions. For the Tyranids, the absence of the Necrons would remove a significant obstacle in their relentless consumption of the galaxy. The Necrons' highly advanced technology and cold efficiency have proven formidable in resisting the Hive fleets, and their removal would open the door for the Tyranids to advance into regions previously inaccessible. Planets that once benefited from Necron intervention against Tyranid invasions would be left to fend for themselves, often with disastrous results. This unchecked expansion of the Tyranids would accelerate the depletion of the galaxy's resources, hastening the spiral toward galactic entropy. The Orcs, ever eager for a fight, would seize upon the opportunity to claim abandoned Necron worlds and engage in unchecked warfare. Without the disciplined and unrelenting resistance of the Necrons, many Orc warbands would expand their territories, plunging even more of the galaxy into chaos. The absence of Necron technology, which the Orcs sometimes repurpose in unpredictable and destructive ways, could also result in the loss of certain advancements that have helped stem Orc aggression in key regions. Perhaps one of the most unpredictable consequences would arise from the manipulation or misuse of Necron technology left behind. Other factions, including the Imperium, the Mechanicus, and even the Tau, would likely attempt to study and harness the advanced artifacts of the Necrons. While these technologies hold immense potential for advancement, they also carry great risks. Misunderstood Necron devices could trigger catastrophic events, from planetary destruction to widespread dimensional instability. The loss of the Necrons as guardians of their own technology might lead to unintended disasters as lesser beings attempt to wield powers they cannot fully comprehend. Economically and strategically, the disappearance of the Necrons would lead to a reconfiguration of galactic priorities. Key regions once dominated by Necron dynasties would become battlegrounds for control, draining resources and manpower from all factions involved. The constant power struggle that defines the galaxy would intensify, as every empire and warband seeks to exploit the void left behind. This increased competition could result in an even more fragmented and unstable galactic landscape. On a broader scale, the philosophical implications of the Necrons' disappearance would resonate deeply with many of the galaxy's inhabitants. For millions of years, the Necrons have served as a reminder of the fragility of mortal existence, the dangers of unchecked ambition, and the consequences of sacrificing one's soul for power. Their eradication would not erase these lessons, but would instead leave a legacy of caution and fear surrounding the mysteries of their rise and fall. In the end, the galaxy without the Necrons would not be a safer or more stable place. While their absence might alleviate some immediate threats, it would create a power vacuum that invites chaos and conflict on an even greater scale. The Necrons' departure would mark the end of one ancient chapter in the galaxy's history, but it would also signal the beginning of a new, perhaps even darker era of struggle and uncertainty. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Necrons' endgame lies in their unparalleled mastery of technology and its implications for their ambitions. Unlike other factions in the galaxy, whose technological advancements are either stagnant or reliant on imperfect understanding, the Necrons wield a level of technological sophistication that blurs the line between science and the supernatural. This technological edge is not merely a tool for conquest, but a fundamental pillar of their vision for the galaxy. Among the most debated topics within the community is the Necrons' ability to manipulate time and space. Their temporal technologies, such as the chronometrons, allow them to bend the flow of time in localized areas. This ability raises intriguing questions about whether the Necrons could, theoretically, rewind or reshape the galaxy's history to undo the events that led to their decline. While the Necrons themselves seem focused on shaping the future, the potential for them to alter the past remains a tantalizing prospect, one that could fundamentally rewrite the balance of power in the galaxy. Another unique feature of the Necron agenda is their disdain for the warp and their efforts to eliminate its influence. The warp, a chaotic realm of psychic energy that fuels the power of many factions, including the Imperium and Chaos, is seen by the Necrons as a source of instability and corruption. Their technological creations, such as the null field generators, are specifically designed to disrupt psychic phenomena and suppress warp activity. Theoretical discussions often revolve around the potential for the Necrons to create a galaxy-wide null zone, effectively cutting off the warp entirely. This would not only devastate factions reliant on psychic power, but also fundamentally alter the fabric of the galaxy, severing the Immaterium's connection to real space and reshaping reality in ways no other faction could achieve. The concept of biotransference also continues to captivate and unsettle fans. While the Necrons themselves view their transformation into beings of living metal as a necessary step to achieve immortality, the process eradicated their souls and left them emotionally void. The philosophical implications of this trade-off are often discussed. Did the Necrons truly lose their essence? Or is there some lingering fragment of their former selves buried deep within their metal shells? The scattered instances of individuality and personality among their leaders suggest that the biotransference may not have been as complete as initially believed. This raises the possibility of some Necrons reclaiming their lost identity, an outcome that could fracture their unity or even alter the trajectory of their endgame. Another intriguing topic tied to the Necron endgame is their use of the enslaved shards of the C'tan. These fragments of the once powerful star gods are both a source of incredible power and a dangerous liability. The C'tan shards grant the Necrons access to godlike abilities, such as manipulating reality and wielding cosmic energy. However, the enslaved nature of these entities makes their use inherently risky, as the shards constantly seek to break free and exact revenge. This dynamic introduces an element of unpredictability to the Necrons' plans. Many speculate that the growing reliance on the C'tan shards could lead to catastrophic consequences, with some shards potentially escaping their bindings and unleashing chaos across the galaxy. The Necrons' enigmatic connection to the Blackstone fortresses is another hotly debated subject. These ancient, impenetrable structures, scattered across the galaxy, possess mysterious properties that seem to align with the Necrons' anti-warp agenda. Some theories suggest that the Blackstone fortresses were originally Necron creations designed to counteract the Old One's mastery of the warp. Others propose that the Necrons aim to reclaim and reactivate these fortresses as part of their larger plan to sever the galaxy from the Immaterium. The exact role of the Blackstone fortresses in the Necrons' endgame remains unclear, but their presence adds another layer of mystery to the faction's technological prowess. The ultimate goal of the Necrons also raises questions about their view of other life forms in the galaxy. While they see themselves as the rightful rulers of the stars, their methods for dealing with organic species vary. Some dynasties, like the Sautek, are content to subjugate and exploit other species, using them as tools for their own purposes. Others, such as those led by more fanatical or bitter pharaons, advocate for total extermination, believing that organic life represents chaos and decay that must be purged for true order to be established. This duality within Necron philosophy sparks speculation about what the galaxy might look like if they achieved their endgame. Would it be a cold, orderly dominion with some species allowed to exist under Necron control, or a barren void of mechanical perfection? Lastly, the notion of the Silent King's ultimate intentions remains a topic of fervent discussion. While he is often seen as the driving force behind the Necron resurgence, his motives are not entirely transparent. Some interpret his actions as those of a ruler seeking redemption for his past mistakes, while others view him as a pragmatist, willing to make whatever sacrifices are necessary to secure the Necrons' future. The possibility that the Silent King might have a hidden agenda, one that diverges from the traditional Necron endgame, adds an element of intrigue and uncertainty to their plans. These unique aspects of the Necron endgame, from their unparalleled technology to their philosophical dilemmas, contribute to their enduring appeal within the Warhammer 40,000 universe. Their methods and goals are unlike those of any other faction, making them a compelling subject for exploration and debate. Whether they succeed or fail, the implications of their actions are certain to leave an indelible mark on the galaxy. Among the Necrons, certain individuals stand out not only for their leadership, but for the qualities and flaws that could shape the trajectory of their endgame, potentially leading to either their ultimate triumph or their downfall. These figures are defined by their intellect, ambition, and the weight of their decisions, which reverberate across their fractured dynasties and the galaxy at large. Additionally, outside the Necron hierarchy, key figures from other factions pose existential threats to their plans, driven by goals that directly clash with the Necrons' pursuit of order. One of the most enigmatic figures in Necron history is Orokin the Diviner, a cryptech who has mastered the arcane science of chronomancy. Orokin's abilities to predict and manipulate future events make him a critical asset to the Necrons, but his arrogance and obsession with achieving personal perfection are notable weaknesses. His ultimate goal is to ascend beyond his current form, seeking godlike status through mastery of time itself. Orokin's manipulations have been pivotal in several Necron campaigns, yet his personal ambitions often lead him to act against the interests of his fellow dynasties. His experiments with time have also been known to backfire, creating anomalies that even he cannot control. If unchecked, Orokin's actions could destabilize the Necrons' carefully orchestrated plans, potentially leading to catastrophic consequences. Trazyn the Infinite, the self-styled curator of the galaxy's history, is another prominent figure whose actions could shape the Necron endgame. Trazyn's obsession with acquiring unique artifacts and individuals for his collection often places him at odds with the broader goals of his kind. While his vast knowledge and resources have occasionally proven invaluable, his tendency to prioritize his personal interests over the collective good makes him a wild card. Trazyn's collections include relics and beings of immense power, and his hoarding behavior could inadvertently lead to the release of dangerous entities or technologies that threaten the Necrons' plans. Despite his eccentricity, Trazyn's intelligence and cunning make him a force to be reckoned with, but his unpredictable nature ensures that his impact on the Necrons' future remains uncertain. Among the external threats to the Necrons' endgame, the Imperium of Man is represented by individuals such as Inquisitor Cryptman. Known for his ruthless pragmatism, Cryptman's campaigns against other Xeno species have demonstrated his willingness to employ extreme measures to safeguard humanity. If Cryptman were to turn his attention to the Necrons, his knowledge of ancient artifacts and his capacity for uniting disparate Imperial forces could make him a formidable opponent. His ability to identify and exploit weaknesses in Xeno civilizations has been proven time and again, and his tactical brilliance could be the key to undermining the Necrons' plans. From the Eldar, Eldrad Ulthron emerges as a significant threat. As one of the most powerful Farseers, Eldrad possesses an unmatched ability to navigate the currents of fate. His insight into the potential outcomes of the Necrons' endgame places him in a unique position to intervene at critical moments. Eldrad's ultimate goal is the survival of his own species, but he recognizes that the Necrons' ambitions threaten not only the Eldar, but the galaxy as a whole. His foresight and mastery of psychic manipulation make him a dangerous adversary, capable of orchestrating events that could derail the Necrons' plans long before they reach fruition. Within the Necrons' own ranks, Sarek, the Silent King, is both their greatest unifier and a potential source of internal conflict. While his return to the galaxy has galvanized many dynasties, his motives are not universally accepted. Some Pharans view his attempts to impose unity as a threat to their autonomy, and his guilt over past decisions occasionally clouds his judgment. Zarek's vision for the Necrons extends beyond mere conquest. He seeks to correct the mistakes of the biotransference and restore a semblance of their former selves. This dual focus on redemption and dominion creates tension within his leadership, as not all Necrons share his vision of a restored identity. If these divisions deepen, Zarek's efforts could collapse under the weight of internal dissent, leaving the Necrons vulnerable to external threats. Imhotep the Stormlord, despite his tactical brilliance, is another figure whose ambitions could spell disaster for the Necrons. His focus on expanding the Sautek dynasty often brings him into conflict with other Necron leaders, creating rivalries that undermine collective efforts. While his military strategies are nearly flawless, his pride and hunger for dominance can lead to overextension, exposing vulnerabilities that enemies could exploit. Imhotep's determination to achieve personal glory occasionally blinds him to the broader implications of his actions, making him a double-edged sword in the Necron hierarchy. Outside the Necrons, the Orcs present a unique challenge, embodied by warlords like Gazkul Thraka. While Orcs are often dismissed as a chaotic, disorganized force, their sheer unpredictability and adaptability make them a constant threat to even the most advanced civilizations. Gazkul's ability to unite Orc tribes into massive wags ensures that any Necron reclamation efforts could be met with overwhelming, relentless opposition. The Orcs' innate resistance to control and their tendency to thrive in conflict make them anathema to the Necrons' vision of order, posing a significant obstacle to their plans. Lastly, the looming presence of chaos, represented by figures such as Abaddon the Despoiler, cannot be ignored. While Chaos and the Necrons share a mutual hatred of one another, their opposition to the warp places them on a collision course. Abaddon's ambition to tear down the fabric of reality itself directly counters the Necrons' goal of order and stability. His unrelenting campaigns and mastery of the warp's destructive potential mean that any confrontation with Chaos would stretch the Necrons' resources and threaten to unravel their plans entirely. The combination of these internal and external figures creates a complex web of influence, ambition, and conflict that defines the Necrons' pursuit of their endgame. Each individual, whether within their ranks or among their enemies, brings unique qualities and motivations that could either advance or thwart the Necrons' goals. In the face of these competing forces, the Necrons' success depends not only on their technological might, but also on their ability to navigate the intricate dynamics of leadership, rivalry, and resistance. The Necrons' endgame, while seemingly clear in its overarching goal of restoring their dominion and imposing order on the galaxy, is rife with unanswered questions and alternate interpretations. The complexity of their plans, combined with the fragmented nature of their leadership and the galaxy's chaotic state, has given rise to numerous theories within the fan community. These speculations explore not only the Necrons' ultimate goals, but also the potential circumstances that could lead to their extinction or failure. One of the most hotly debated topics revolves around the role of the Silent King, and whether his vision truly aligns with the broader Necron agenda. Some theorists suggest that Zarek's motives extend beyond simply uniting the dynasties or re-establishing galactic order. One alternative interpretation posits that his actions might be guided by a deeper remorse for the biotransference process. This regret could lead to an unprecedented decision: to seek a way to reverse the transformation of the Necrons, restoring their original forms as the Necron Tyre. Such a radical course of action would not only be fraught with risks, but could also split the Necrons further, as many would resist any attempt to abandon their current immortal existence. This raises the question of whether Zarek's leadership might ultimately destabilize the Necrons, causing internal collapse rather than unity. Another unresolved mystery is the ultimate purpose of their anti-warp technologies. While the Necrons' disdain for the warp and its influence is well documented, There are competing theories about the true extent of their ambitions regarding this chaotic dimension. Some speculate that the Necrons do not merely seek to sever the galaxy's connection to the warp, but may aim to destroy it entirely. This would involve using their ancient constructs to collapse the immaterium, an act that could have catastrophic consequences not only for psychic species, but for the fabric of reality itself. Others propose that the Necrons might instead seek to harness the energy of the warp, turning it into a controlled and predictable resource. Such a plan would involve re-engineering the immaterium into a stable, usable energy source, effectively converting the galaxy's greatest source of chaos into a tool for ultimate order. The enigmatic nature of the C'tan also raises significant questions about the Necrons' future. The decision to shatter and enslave the C'tan was a turning point in their history, but the shards of these godlike entities remain dangerous and unpredictable. Theories abound regarding the possibility of the C'tan shards reuniting or breaking free from their bindings, potentially reversing the balance of power between the Necrons and their former masters. If such an event were to occur, the consequences could be dire, with the C'tan wreaking havoc on the galaxy and potentially turning on the Necrons themselves in vengeance. Conversely, some speculate that the Necrons might attempt to fully harness the power of the C'tan shards, merging them into a single controlled entity capable of achieving their goals. This would be an incredibly dangerous endeavor, as even a slight miscalculation could result in disaster. A particularly intriguing theory suggests that the Necrons' endgame might not be limited to the physical galaxy. Some fans speculate that the Necrons may have already begun exploring ways to transcend their material existence altogether. This could involve creating a new plane of existence, free from the influence of the warp, where the Necrons could establish an eternal empire beyond the reach of their enemies. Such a plan would align with their desire for total control and perfection, as it would remove them entirely from the chaos and unpredictability of the current galaxy. However, this raises questions about whether the Necrons would abandon their efforts in real space, or if they would seek to dominate both dimensions simultaneously. The possibility of the Necrons' extinction is another topic of significant speculation. While their technological superiority and immortality make them formidable, there are vulnerabilities that could lead to their ultimate demise. One theory suggests that the Necrons' reliance on their tomb worlds and stasis crypts is a critical weakness. If a coordinated effort by their enemies were to destroy or disable these facilities, the Necrons would be unable to maintain their numbers, effectively eroding their presence over time. Alternatively, their dependence on ancient technologies that even they no longer fully understand could result in catastrophic malfunctions, rendering their civilization unsustainable. Another theory posits that the Necrons' downfall might come not from external threats, but from internal strife. The rivalries among dynasties, combined with differing interpretations of their ultimate purpose, could lead to a civil war that weakens their collective power. Some dynasties might prioritize conquest and domination, while others could pursue more esoteric goals, such as reversing biotransference or creating new forms of existence. These divergent paths could fracture the Necrons irreparably, leaving them vulnerable to exploitation by other factions. The role of other xenospecies and their impact on the Necrons' plans is also a subject of ongoing discussion. For instance, the Eldar's deep understanding of ancient technologies and their ability to foresee potential outcomes make them a significant obstacle to the Necrons' ambitions. The Tyranids, with their insatiable hunger and adaptability, could pose an existential threat to the Necrons if their tomb worlds were overrun. Even humanity, with its burgeoning understanding of ancient relics and its vast numbers, could eventually become a critical factor in the Necrons' success or failure. An alternate theory about the Necrons' fate suggests that their ultimate goal may involve creating a galaxy devoid of other intelligent life. By eradicating all potential threats and sources of chaos, the Necrons could achieve their vision of eternal order. This theory raises ethical and philosophical questions about the value of life and whether such an existence would be sustainable. It also opens the possibility that the Necrons might eventually turn on themselves, as their drive for perfection could lead to self-destruction once all external challenges are eliminated. These unresolved questions and alternative theories highlight the depth and complexity of the Necrons' endgame. Whether their plans lead to dominance, transformation, or extinction remains a topic of intense debate, with no definitive answers in sight. This uncertainty is a significant part of their appeal, ensuring that their story continues to captivate and inspire speculation within the Warhammer 40,000 universe. The long-term implications of the Necrons' endgame reach far beyond their immediate struggles, promising to reshape the galaxy in ways that could either solidify their legacy or hasten their extinction. Their success, failure, or adaptation in the face of evolving challenges will leave an indelible mark on the 41st millennium and the ages to follow. Should the Necrons achieve their vision, the galaxy would experience an unprecedented era of order and stability, but at a tremendous cost. The chaotic forces of the warp, central to the struggles and survival of many factions, would be entirely suppressed, erasing the psychic potential of countless species. For humanity, this would mean the loss of astropathic communication, warp travel, and the Emperor's guidance, effectively dismantling the Imperium as it exists today. Other factions, like the Eldar and Chaos, would face even greater existential threats as their connection to the warp is integral to their very being. While the Necrons would view this as the pinnacle of success, the galaxy's vibrant diversity and its capacity for growth, creativity, and evolution would be extinguished. In this scenario, the Necrons would preside over a galaxy stripped of unpredictability, where every system operates according to their cold logic and unyielding control. Yet even this vision raises questions about its sustainability. Could the Necrons maintain their dominance indefinitely, or would internal conflicts, technological decay, or unforeseen cosmic events eventually challenge their grip on power? A galaxy devoid of challenge might lead to stagnation, even among the Necrons themselves, who could find their once unstoppable momentum slowed by the very perfection they sought to create. If the Necrons were to fail, the consequences would be equally profound. Their extinction or collapse would leave a vacuum of power in regions where their influence once reigned. This void could be filled by opportunistic factions like the Tyranids or Orcs, who thrive in chaos and conflict. Alternatively, the Imperium or other Xenos factions might seize the opportunity to expand their domains, reclaiming planets and technology previously under Necron control. The potential loss of Necron knowledge and artifacts could also have long-term repercussions, as their ancient technologies represent some of the most advanced in the galaxy. Without the Necrons' presence, critical tools and insights might be lost forever, leaving the galaxy poorer for their absence. The possibility of redemption or transformation offers another intriguing long-term outcome. If the Necrons were to rediscover some semblance of their former selves, either through reversing biotransference or finding a way to regain their lost emotions and individuality, it could fundamentally alter their trajectory. This change might soften their approach to galactic dominance, leading to a more cooperative or measured engagement with other species. However, such a transformation could also weaken their unity, creating fractures among dynasties with differing visions for their future. A Necron civilization divided between those seeking restoration and those clinging to their current form might destabilize their plans and expose them to external threats. The Necrons' survival in the long term may depend on their ability to adapt to the unpredictable nature of the galaxy. Their rigid adherence to order and control, while a source of strength, also represents a vulnerability in the face of dynamic and chaotic forces. By embracing flexibility, whether through alliances, selective tolerance of other species, or new strategies to counter their enemies, the Necrons could safeguard their existence against the many challenges they face. Such adaptations, however, would require them to compromise elements of their identity, raising questions about whether they would remain Necrons in spirit or become something entirely new. Another potential avenue for the Necrons' survival lies in their unparalleled technology. If they can overcome their own internal divisions and focus their collective ingenuity, they might develop solutions to the existential threats they face. Innovations in stasis technology, self-repairing constructs, and energy management could extend their longevity and ensure their dominance. Moreover, their capacity to manipulate time and space offers possibilities that no other faction can rival. Theoretically, the Necrons could create isolated zones of stability, fortified against any external threat, where their civilization could endure even in the face of galactic collapse. In the broader context of the galaxy, the Necrons' actions will continue to influence the fate of other factions. Their anti-warp technologies could destabilize Chaos and its followers, creating opportunities for the Imperium or the Eldar to regroup and strengthen their positions. Conversely, a weakened Necron presence might embolden Chaos, unleashing even greater devastation upon the galaxy. The balance of power between these factions would shift dramatically based on the outcome of the Necrons' Endgame, making them a critical variable in the galaxy's future. Despite their ambitions, the Necrons' story is one of resilience in the face of loss and reinvention after catastrophe. Whether they achieve their goals, adapt to changing circumstances, or fade into obscurity, their impact on the galaxy will be felt for millennia to come. The long-term consequences of their actions, both deliberate and unintended, will shape the evolution of the galaxy, influencing its cycles of chaos and order, growth and decay. The question of whether this influence will be for better or worse remains unresolved, leaving the future of the galaxy as uncertain as ever. What might ultimately save the Necrons from complete annihilation is their ability to embrace their fragmented nature. While unity is often seen as their strength, the individuality of certain dynasties and leaders could serve as a safeguard against total collapse. If one dynasty falls, another might rise to carry on their legacy. This decentralized resilience ensures that, even in the face of overwhelming odds, the Necrons' presence in the galaxy may never be entirely extinguished. Their influence, whether as rulers, remnants, or relics, will endure as a testament to their ancient power and ambition.